so that someone can read it very short and learn something.
And that's www.financialtales.com.
Right.
Okay.
You just Google Financial Tales and it'll come up.
Okay.
My son runs that.
Oh, that'll be successful.
Yes, I just write the story, he runs it. But one of the things that you talk about having a plan is I have one of my tales in there called a tale of rebalancing.
Yes.
Which means that if you, for example, start a portfolio out, like we're recommending, let's say 50% stocks, 50% bonds, so that in the withdrawal phase of life, you don't go broke, you don't run out of money. Well, what will happen naturally is there will be, markets will drop, markets will go up, which means the percentage of stocks in your portfolio might start out at 50 on Monday.
Yeah.
By Friday, it could be 55 or 45% if we've had a very volatile week.
Yeah.
One of the techniques that you're supposed to do is rebalance back to 50-50.
Yeah.
And by doing that alone, just that one simple technique alone, you're going to add almost 1% per year to your portfolio. So you talk about earlier, you said, should people get an advisor?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. If that alone is worth the fee.
It is, yes.
And most people, what I have watched, is that even if they learn, even if they have the literacy, do the right portfolio allocation and whatnot, when the markets drop or when they're high as they are right now, they will not rebalance.
Oh, really?
They won't do it because they're afraid.
Okay.
Or they're greedy, one of the two, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
When the market's dropping and they're supposed to be buying stocks as they're dropping, they won't. And when the market's going up and they're supposed to be selling, they won't. So what happens over time, someone that manages their own money, is that they may start out 50-50, and if they happen to be hit a bull market when they start, their portfolio gets to 70-30.
Yeah.
Okay, or if they happen to hit a bear market, it may go to 30-70, the exact opposite. But they won't do the consistent rebalancing that they need to have.
All right.
So you should read that tale.
Yeah, I think I will read that tale.
I have about 45 tales on there right now, and I have several hundred more in reserve.
Oh, you do?
Yes, I've looked. I'm trying to release them about once a week so that people can assimilate them slowly. Okay. And much of what I'm going to be talking about over the next few months is this distribution concept.
That's fascinating.
Well, it's very complicated.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other way of saying it.
It's
not simple. It takes some time, and I'm going to be releasing it on the site so that they can, so that people can learn slowly. I have a series of tales on there that talk about, earlier I said one of the reasons I like the Wellington Fund is because, or most balanced funds for people in the distribution stage, is because they don't have high highs when markets are going great.
Right.
They don't do as well, but when markets are doing poorly, they don't do as poorly.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'll give you one of the best examples that out there. In 1969, had you invested in a fund called the Fidelity Magellan, which was the best known fund, and very well known. Peter Lynch ran the fund.
Right.
Or you could invest in American Mutual. This is another mutual fund. Fidelity Magellan over the next 25 years was the $1 performing fund in the country, in the world, okay? And American Mutual was okay, okay? If you had $1 million in Fidelity in 1969, and you were in the accumulation phase of your life, by 1993 you had $53 million.
Oh, how nice.
So that's a really good fund. You made 53 times your money in 25 years.
Yeah.
This American Mutual grew to about 17 million. So a third as much money, basically.
Right.
However, if you were to be in the withdrawal phase and I ask a question, should you put your money in Fidelity, Magellan, or American? Because now you're 65 and you're taking money out with inflation. Magellan runs out of money and American funds does not. In fact, Magellan runs out of money within, I think it was 18 years from the time you started. And American doesn't. Why? Because in the 1973-74 period, Magellan lost 63% of its money in one period.
Wow.
Now, of course, it recovered.
Yeah.
Okay.
What they lose overall too.
Well, they had, they're 100% stock fund. Okay. Whereas, so they lost 63% of their money. So what happens is you're taking money out.
Right.
You don't have it there to recover. That's that whole mathematics of recovery. So while in the accumulation phase of someone's life, Fidelity would have been the best investment, and you would say American stinks. The same exact two funds over the same time frame in the withdrawal phase of life, it's the exact opposite. So that's why I said this is a very complicated issue.
It is complicated, yeah. And the average person just goes, oh.
I know. That's why I say it's we're getting out there and kind of preaching this in the sense that the number one, if you stay conservative, you're guaranteed to not succeed.
Yeah, you got to take a risk.
Okay, you have to take risks. So if you're going to take risks, you have to take it intelligently. And how do you take it intelligently? And that's what this whole distribution phase of life is compared to the accumulation phase of life.
Yeah.
You got that?
Got that.
Okay, John.
It's good that I have Social Security to follow up with.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and it's interesting. We have a number of talking about Social Security. One of the things that we always look at in terms of planning, and every good planner will do this. If someone's receiving, for example, simplicity, $50,000 a year in Social Security and pensions.
Okay.
Okay? And what I'm going to do is try to create the pension and try to correlate that to the person that doesn't have a pension.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Fewer and fewer of those these days.
Yeah, fewer and fewer. Yeah. But in this town, a lot of people have pensions.
Yeah.
I
do.
A lot of people have pensions in this town. So if you're making $50,000 a year in retirement,
right,
compared to a physician, okay, who had to put money aside, okay, they don't have that pension, okay? So that $50,000 a year is really the same as having $1 million at 5%.
Yeah, I suppose it is.
Okay?
Yeah.
And that $1 million at 5%, because it's so certain, it's being paid by, it's not going to disappear.
Hopefully.
Well, I mean, it may deflate, it may, it's not going to disappear is what I'm saying.
Right.
It just may not buy as much. But it's going to be there every year. And to the entrepreneur or the self-employed businessman or whatever you may want to call it, that person now is retired who's got $1 million. They don't have that $50,000 coming in. They've got to go out and purchase $1 million worth of bonds to have that same income. So most people who are retired with their other assets should have a higher percentage of their money in the stock market.
Yeah.
Because that pension is a bond equivalent to a small businessman. The small businessman has to have a lower percentage in stocks.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm making any sense of that, but
pretty much.
You got that?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's one of the things that like I say, every good advisor has to know that.
Yeah.
Is that pension's not going away. It behaves for a person in the withdrawal phase of life like a bond. So you should treat it like a bond. What it means is if you see a 70-year-old that needs $50,000 a year to live on and they're getting it on their pension, why not have a much more aggressive portfolio allocation?
That's a good point, yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
What are you doing with it?
Yeah, just sitting there.
It's just sitting there. So, and especially given the fact that that stocks are going to, this number here, if you go back to our inflation withdrawal chart, the stock is the only thing that's going to stay. Well, basically the bottom $100 grows to 101. It's the only thing that's going to keep you ahead of inflation.